Watch how the door shuts. Hello, and welcome to the HRIS Deep Dive session. I'm Ryan Hinshaw, and if you hadn't heard, something big happened today. The HRIS is generally available to all. Our payroll is in beta and coming out in the very near future. When Lattice builds product, we do it by listening to all of you. We hear your pain points, we hear your feedback, and we take that all in, and it really helps us build the best product as possible. When we set off to build Lattice HRIS, we actually didn't know the direction that we were going to take. How do we want this to tie in? What were the strengths? Where do we want to index stronger in? Since then, we've brought on over 70 companies, over 10,000 employees, over 1,000 of you after last year's announcement raised your hand, was like, hey, we want to learn more about this. We've launched workflows, onboarding, reporting, and a handful of other features that we're going to go over today in a deep dive session on that. Nice little stat here of just even the engagement that we're seeing inside of the product of 88.3 years of PTO tracked and taken with like some sort of 99% approval rate of managers approving PTO. And so why Lattice and why did we go and build the HRIS the way that we did? The first one we've talked a lot about is just the unified data. One, for helping employees, managers, and admins for faster and smarter decision making. This is one for also just giving you better analytics inside the system, but two, to have it right there in one single system. You're not having to splunk around multiple different systems to be able to pull the things you want to. The second part of it is really intuitive design. Eric talked about this earlier today, of when we build an engaging piece of software, we started with performance reviews and goals. We wanted this to be an employee experience. How does an employee need to engage in it? And then building for the different personas on top of that, but really focusing on that core use case of an employee and delivering a delightful experience to them. Third one here is flexible to meet your business. Inside of an HRIS, it is a very difficult product because every company operates a little bit differently. Every team operates a little differently. You have a department that wants to do things their own way. What we built here is a tool that matches the way you work, that is flexible and adaptable and will grow with you over time. Fourth one here is continuous innovation. We started with a handful of Talent Suite products. HRIS, we're working on payroll, the benefits integration, and many more things to come in the near future that I'm excited about. And the fifth one here is just a trusted award-winning support team. If anyone has worked with our support team before, you know how delightful it is. A part of the HRIS process, we will handhold you, get you up and running, and really feel supported of running on our system from day one. And with that, I want to introduce Spencer, who's going to start a deep dive.
Thanks, Ryan. Hey everyone, I'm Spencer. I'm a product manager. I'm excited today to show you Lattice HRIS and how it, combined with the Lattice Talent Suite, can really support your employees from before they start at your company, throughout their entire career, and even after they leave. So we're going to start today talking about onboarding. We're really excited about how Lattice HRIS helps get new hires set up with your company with confidence. There's obviously so many questions that come into starting a new role. We like to build up the confidence of our new hires, as well as accomplish all the logistics that need to happen for onboarding. So let's dive into an example. In this case, we're going to talk about Emma. Emma is a new hire joining a company called Evergreen Technologies, and she starts in a couple of weeks. She just signed her offer letter in Greenhouse Recruiting. Because we use Greenhouse as our ATS, her profile is automatically synced into Lattice HRIS. So I'm logged in as an admin here. This is our HRIS. We see that Emma's profile has been synced. So I want to begin her onboarding flow. So I'm just going to click Begin Onboarding. We can see here that we've already selected an onboarding template. And these are something that you can really configure to match the needs of your company specifically. And there's a lot of changes that you can make to make it fit your needs. We see here with this template, we like the new hire to fill out 12 specific fields, their contact information, etc. The admin, myself, I'll enter some fields like salary that maybe wasn't included within Greenhouse. We'll ask her to sign and upload some documents, including the all-important I-9 in the US. And then we can generate tasks for the village that it takes throughout your whole organization to support each new hire class, because we know there's so much that needs to be done. You can configure any notifications that are sent out, including the welcome invite that will go out to Emma in just a second. And then welcome content we're really excited about. This is a thing that you can customize to match the look and feel for your company. Share any context you want with your new hire so that they know what they should expect on day one and how to be successful. So I can edit any of this if I want to. but everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and start Emma's onboarding. If I want to, I can always come in and review the status of this onboarding. So we can see that now Emma has been invited. If I click into it, we can see that I've completed my part of entering the fields, some of her role details, and that welcome email has been sent out to Emma. So now let's take a look at what this looks like from Emma's point of view. All right, remember, Emma's starting in about 2 weeks. She's nervous, as I am often when I start a new role and right now. And so we send an email based on this template 14 days before her start date to her personal email address. In this case, it's asking her to join Evergreen Technologies on Lattice, so I'm going to click Sign Up for Lattice. First, she's greeted with this screen that really helps her feel welcome to Evergreen, gives some excitement, and then gives an overview of what she should expect with Lattice onboarding. Next, she's going to go in and fill out those personal details like her SSN, her birth date, her address, phone number, etc. All the important information we need. And then we'll move on to documents. As I mentioned, in the US, we all know that the I-9 is the really important document for onboarding. So we wanted to make that a really simple but powerful process. So I'm going to click Start and show you this experience. First, we'll see the fields that we've already entered are already brought in. I can review them real quick, but everything looks good because I just added it. Next, I'll answer the citizenship question. And then when I click Preview and Sign, this is where the real magic happens. We can see the I-9 form itself with all my information automatically inserted onto it. Everything looks good. I'm going to give it one last look over, but I like it, so I'm going to click to sign. And just like that, I can e-sign my I-9 form. Now that experience is a lot different than it's been for me onboarding for companies in the past. And I'm really excited to give this to our customers as well. Next step, we're going to upload our identifying documents. You can really upload any documents based on the I-9's rules. I like to choose passport as it's the simplest, so we'll choose passport today and go to the next step. Upload the front and the back of our passport, and now we're ready to submit section 1 of the I-9 for the admin to review and complete section 2. So that's all it takes to submit your I-9. Now we see that I-9 has been submitted, including the passport front and back. And then here's the document section where within that template you can configure really any document that you want to e-sign or upload. In this case, we'll just sign the company handbook, and we'll do that just like we e-signed the I-9. But you could add data privacy, any form that's relevant here. So we'll review and sign, and then we'll move on to the welcome packet. The welcome packet, again, can be customized to really match the look and feel of your company. We can see the logo here, but you can add images, etc. In this case, we like to explain kind of the origin story of Evergreen, share what our company's mission is, and then the values that we want to see Emma live up to throughout her career at Evergreen. Next, we'll move on to some important context around what she should expect on day 1 and her first week, so you can feel like she's set up for success and hit the ground running. And then lastly, some important just logistics about her technology. How she's going to get her laptop, how she can get on VPN, log into her email, all those things so she can be productive from day 1. All right, lastly, I'll hit Visit My Lattice homepage. And now, you're probably familiar with this screen. This is the Lattice homepage. However, it probably looks a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. And that's because if you look at the top right, we can see that it's still 13 days until my start date. So I'm not an active employee yet. I don't have access to all of Lattice. However, I can already start to get to know my manager, my team. I can view my welcome packet and go back and look at what we just looked at if I want to refresh on company values, etc. And I can really hit the ground running. That's a high-level overview of the employee-facing perspective from onboarding. But like I said, we know it takes a village to really complete a full onboarding. So there are tasks around the organization that are going out to people on teams like facilities, payroll, etc. Next, I want to show you what it might look like to receive one of those tasks. So let's say I'm logged in as Frank. Frank is on our facilities team. And Frank logs into Lattice just about every day. He does things like his one-on-ones, he gives feedback, he provides his updates, so he's very familiar with it. And now he sees that he's been assigned a task. In this case, he's going to open this task and see that it's to create a new badge for our new hire, Emma. He can see that her relevant details have been inserted directly into this task, including which office she's joining. Obviously an important detail to know which badge to make. And then what her start date is. Everything looks good, so he's going to go ahead, create that badge, and then mark as complete. Now that's everything Frank needs to do for his part in Emma's onboarding. But there are folks across the entire organization that are doing similar types of tasks. So it's important as an admin that I can always track the status of those tasks and help them move along if I need to. So back on the admin side, I can see the status of this onboarding, including now that Emma has filled out her fields, Frank has completed his task. There are a few other tasks that we're still waiting on, which I could send reminders for or even reassign if I need to. And then in this case, I can see that that section 2 of the I-9 is waiting for me. So I'm going to click in to this passport, review document. And now this passport looks a lot like it was actually generated by AI. But for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and approve it, say everything looks good. And just like that, we've really completed everything we need for Emma's onboarding. Now, the really exciting thing about all of this is that because it was done within Lattice, when Emma signs in on day 1, she's already assigned to her one-on-ones, to a growth plan, and everything else you'd expect from the Lattice Talent Suite. So not only does it help your organization get her set up, but it helps her be set up for success. We're really excited about it. Now, as Emma continues throughout her career, just like there are for all of us, she's going to have many changes. She might get promoted, she might have a manager change, she might move. And all those changes need to show up within the HRIS. So we're excited next to talk about our flexible workflows, and how you can configure these workflows to enable those changes to enter our system in whatever way works for you and your company with all the necessary side effects. So let's look at an example. Let's say Emma just got married. She needs to change her legal name. For Emma, all she has to do is go to her profile, click Actions, and she'll see that we've configured a workflow for a legal name change. There are tax implications to this, so we want to make sure this workflow is set up correctly. So she's going to click Legal Name Change. She'll see the form with the relevant fields for this type of change. If she's changing her legal name, she might also want to change what you call her, so her preferred name. I'll go in and enter my information. I can enter an effective date, including in the past or the future. And then because there are tax implications to this, we ask Emma to upload a document right along with this request to prove that she actually made this change with the government. All right, everything looks good, so let's submit that request. After she submits it, she can always come and look at this pending request right on her profile, so she can see the information, what it's changing from and to, see what the effective date is, and in this case, that it's pending approval. So now let's look at what this approval looks like from the admin's point of view. In this case, it's a name change, so it's probably going to go to an HR admin. Any admin within Lattice HRIS can configure your notification preferences, just like any employee can. So you can choose if you want these delivered to your email or directly to your Slack. I like mine coming right to my Slack. So I'll go to Slack for all my approvals. In this case, I'll just click View Details in Lattice, and we'll open up right to the approval. Here we see again the from to of the information that was requested, the effective date. I can click in to view that document that was uploaded to make sure this actually was made with the government. Everything looks good, so let's approve it. Now, just like an onboarding, if I ever want to track the status of a workflow, I can open up the status screen, and I can again click in to see the from to. We can now see that it has been approved, and that some tasks were fired off because, again, there are tax, maybe benefits implications to this change. So that's a really high level of one of the simplest workflows you can create within Lattice HRIS. But now I want to show how you can configure a really flexible workflow to match your company's needs. I'm going to click Create Workflow. And we can see that there are 3 types of workflows that we can create. First is a job update request. This is actually what I just showed. And this is great for things like promotions, manager changes, anywhere where you're selecting a group of fields and you want people to request that through a form. Personal data updates are similar, where they can fire off approvals and tasks, but are great for things changed on the profile, like an address. And then employee milestone workflows can automatically trigger a task list or any notification you want based off of any date field in the system. So things like birth date or anniversary or return from leave date or start date or termination date. Really powerful. So let's go ahead and create a job update request. I'll click into that. In this case, we're going to make a workflow for our US employees who are moving from a US location to our London office. There's a lot that goes into this. We want to configure our workflow. I'm going to name that international transfer. And then my first step is selecting which fields do I want to show up on that form that we just saw. In this case, I'm going to make work location required. It's a pretty important part of this workflow. We'll continue to the next step. Next step, this is how you could require a document, as we saw in the name change. We'll skip that for now. In permissions, you're choosing who should be able to make this type of request. In this case, we're just going to choose manager or managers of managers. You could also choose a custom role or select any individual that you want to grant access here. Then, because this is a US employee moving to our London office, we're going to actually specify that this workflow should only be available to US employees with our eligibility criteria. Then we'll make another workflow for people moving from our London office to a US location, because there's going to be a lot of other people involved, different tasks, etc. So this looks good. All right, so now we've configured kind of how to request it. Next is what should happen once this is requested. And that's where you can come in and configure approvals. We like to first send ours to our HRBP to make sure everything is correct. And then we send it to an approval group. In this case, this is 3 members of our payroll team. So any one of them can approve this and move it on to the next step. And then we send it to 2 members of our HR team. That's our approval chain. And now once we hit final approval, we can send out any task we want or any email or, again, Slack. So let's configure a task. The really exciting part about this is how you can insert dynamic content into these tasks. So this could be any information about the employee or the change itself that is kicking off this workflow. So here we'll show where they're moving from and to, what their effective date is of that move, so that the assignee really has everything that they need to complete this task. Then we'll configure like when it should send, when it should be due, all those things. And then when we're creating an email, it's the same process where you can have this sent via email or Slack and include that rich content. We're going to skip that for now. So let's go ahead and publish this workflow. And then real quickly to show, now those fields that we configured in that form will show up on this form here if I go into Actions, International Transfer. And then once I submit that request, if I want to track the status of that workflow, I now see the approval group showing up and who it's waiting on. If maybe this change was something that was discussed in a room and I was a member of that meeting, I'm an admin, I know that this has been approved. I can always come in and move it along by just approving on behalf of everybody, or I can reassign approval if I need to. So that's a high level of how you can configure a really flexible workflow within Lattice HRIS, but you also don't have to configure them all yourself. We do have a library of pre-configured workflows that we found to be most valuable with our customers using this product over the last year. We're really excited about these. You can come in and just preview what these workflows are made up of. You can go in and make any adjustments that you want if you need to edit stuff to match your company. Hit publish and you're off and running in just a few minutes. So that's flexible workflows within Lattice HRIS. We're really excited about how it enables you to manage all the changes across your entire company with the proper checks and balances. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Nicole to show you how we can also pay these employees within Lattice HRIS.
Awesome. Thank you, Spencer. Hey, everyone. I'm Nicole. I'm the product lead for our payroll product. Brand new product, but I'm really excited to show you how we start with all of the data starting from your performance review cycles into calibration cycles, into that compensation review, and how all of that gets into payroll seamlessly at the end of the day. So stepping back here, we're going to start with Victor Smith. So Victor's been at the company for a while. And here we are as his manager in a calibration session of all account managers. He's doing really well. He has high potential. He's exceeding expectations in terms of performance from his performance review. And so we put him in box 9. Really excited about his engagement at the company. Before diving into his compensation cycle, we're just gonna make sure we can verify the compensation benchmarking is competitive with all of their salaries in the account management function, also account executive functions, client service manager functions, all of this data powered by Mercer to make sure we're competitive because we want Victor to stay engaged at our company. Moving along here in the cycle, we are in the Q3 compensation cycle. So as his manager, I can pull this up and I can see all of the recommendations for my team. I have my recommendations for raise budgets, bonus plan payouts, one-time bonuses, and equity budget. So as you can see here in current base pay, he's getting paid $175,000, and we've gotten guidance that he deserves about a 7 and 8% raise. He's doing really, really well though, so we're gonna bump that to a 12% raise, and his new base pay will be $196,000. So how does all of that flow into payroll, into the HRIS at the end of the day? Well, that field, as soon as we're done with that cycle, we can immediately inject that into employee data in the compensation field. So as an admin, I'm looking here at Victor Smith's profile, and I can see that he has a scheduled increase. Base pay, $196,000 USD. The change reason is his merit increase, and that'll be effective October 1st. So I want to wait to have that conversation with him as his manager. Once I have that conversation, I can choose to make that available to him in his profile so he can see his total pay and that change from his base pay to his new base pay. All of that is in the HRIS, and I'm going to walk you through now how that also appears in payroll. So as the payroll admin, this is your first screen that you would see once you've onboarded fully onto Lattice Payroll. So once we've gotten all your state, federal ID numbers, all of your employees into the system, we've also collected all of your bi-weekly, semi-weekly, different pay periods that you may want to pay. Going into reviewing payroll here, we have the payroll due for September 22nd to October 1st, and looks like we need to run that by tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time so that all of our employees get paid on October 11th, on Friday. So going in here, this is where everything comes to play, which is really cool. You can see immediately that we have a few alerts that we need to take care of. So because the data is flowing in from our HRIS, from compensation cycles, and we know all of this, we're immediately given alerts to check into Victor. I can see here his regular pay has a 12% increase. The system knows exactly where that increase is from. We've heard from payroll admins, they're having to get out of payroll, go back into their HRIS, ask managers, what was the reason for the pay increase? Is this real? And here we can actually pull this all in to one page and review this right before we're running payroll. We also noticed that when uploading commissions, since Victor's on a commission plan, it looks like somebody added a little too high of a commission here. So we can make any adjustments to anyone who's on hourly pay here, commissions. We're just going to correct that real quick, save it, and go on our way to reviewing all of the other employees. Again, you can see all of their increases from any reimbursements, regular pay, and detect any abnormalities that may have been different from the first pay period to the next. A tab I also really like to show here is our alerts tab. Again, data flowing in from compensation to HRIS. We know that 15 employee salaries have been adjusted as part of that compensation cycle. You can hop to them here, make sure everything looks good, but it should be good since it's all syncing in the same system. Again, because we are directly integrated into that HRIS, David Goodman, he's relocated to Colorado. He probably went through one of those workflows set up that Spencer actually just showed you. But we need to add our state tax information in order to pay and file on his behalf into Colorado. So we'll alert you of that as well. Any invalid Social Security numbers, we check that on our end as well to make sure that they are going to be paid and their W-2s will be correct at the end of the year. And then there's our required approvals from 2 other products which are directly integrated into the payroll product. Timesheets, which is new. Brendan, he needs a timesheet approval here. I can go in and do an admin override, make sure everything looks good. He's taking his meal breaks, approve that timesheet, go back to any alerts. And Ariella here has a time off request that needs approval. Now this is normally done by managers. So what I'm gonna do is instead of get out of the product, remind your manager on Slack, track her down, I'm just gonna hit remind manager. Her manager will immediately get an alert so that we can keep that process moving with the manager, but I could also do an admin override if necessary. Keep everything moving to get payroll out on time. The other thing I love to show here is that integration with our new leave of absence product. So now that you're able to track leave of absence within the HRIS, all of that information about an employee, whether that leave be unpaid or paid, flows into payroll. This is a step usually that trips payroll admins up. So we've brought it in here to let them make a decision. Do we want to skip payroll for Zoe? And we're going to ask them this every time and just make sure that we intentionally want to skip them. Everything looks good. Assuming I have resolved all of those alerts, I am ready to do one final review of the payroll. As you can see here, we have their total payout, their debit amount. We'll be debiting everybody into their direct deposit accounts, which they have added and supplied on their own into Lattice and can change anytime they want. We can view their pay and earnings, their hours and time off, and also the tax breakdown and any other deductions from the payroll. So that looks good. One final check here. And we are good to submit payroll. Also, what I really love to show here is the analytics and total employee cost is instantly available, right? So we've submitted that payroll and we know exactly what that cost will be, and you can evaluate your execution against your pay for performance culture and strategy that you've set out to do here. You can also look at payroll trends month over month, see how costs have changed, and that'll be all off of real cost data since it's directly from the payroll. You can hop directly, as I mentioned, to our Analytics Explorer, which is showing you, again, that actual cost data, total employee cost over performance review, and just make sure that looks good in terms of the strategy that you've set out for the quarter. And that's about it I have to show about compensation and payroll. This payroll product is in beta. We just launched, so if you're interested, come visit us at the booth. And excited to chat more with you about it. Now I want to introduce Rebecca, who's going to show you about offboarding an employee.
Thanks, Nicole. Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca, and I'm a product manager with the Lattice HRIS team. Now, Nicole and Spencer did a great job walking you through the first part of an employee journey. That's onboarding, employee changes, and how employees get paid. Now I'm going to walk you through the last part of an employee journey, which is offboarding. Now I know offboarding isn't everyone's favorite topic, but I promise if you bear with me, I'm going to show you some cool things. So think back to before Lattice HRIS. Offboarding used to be a marathon of project management. You have to remember to send out exit surveys on time. You have to remember to reassign any direct reports that no longer have a manager. You have to remember to send payroll on time and make sure you account for any accrued time off. That's a lot. And with Lattice HRIS, we aim to make that an all-in-one experience so that you cover all of your bases. Now let me show you what I mean. Let me introduce you to Alice Cooper. Not to be confused with the rock legend Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper is a product designer at Evergreen Technologies. And she just gave her notice. So Brian, our people operations manager, needs to offboard Alice. Lattice HRIS makes this really easy. All Brian has to do is come to Alice's profile and hit Terminate Employee. Brian then fills out all of the fields for Alice Cooper, such as their last working day and their termination date, which we know might be a little bit different. And then once Brian scrolls down here, we can add things like termination type. What was the reason for that termination? Was that attrition regretted or not regretted? Filling out this information is hugely beneficial for Brian because then once this information is filled out, we can reference back to it in our reporting and analytics, which I'll show you down the line. I also mentioned that terminations have always been juggling many balls, and that's no longer the case. Right here, right within the termination workflow, we allow that Brian to reassign all of Alice's direct reports so that Lily, Sophia, and Ava have a great experience. We also show any accrued time off balances that might be owed to Alice, all within one. Once Brian's all set there, he can hit Terminate Employee, and then we just nudge Brian in case he needs to run that termination payroll. I also mentioned how exit surveys are a hugely important part of a termination workflow. Lattice, again, makes this really easy. Because Lattice HRIS is built on top of all of the products that we know and love with Lattice, we integrate seamlessly with our exit survey program. So here, once Brian runs that termination, we can send nudges to Alice so that Alice can fill out her exit survey. Alice receives this email or a Slack, whatever she chooses, and then can complete their exit survey. It's that easy. I also want to mention, very important, that Lattice HRIS is compliant. So we store all of your historical information for your terminated employees, but should the need arise, we can delete any information should you choose. Data security and privacy is hugely important to us here at Lattice, and you can be rest assured that your data is safe with us. Great. So we've walked through the entire the entire employee journey. We've talked about onboarding, we've talked about employee changes, We've talked about pay, we've talked about offboarding, and y'all are still here, which is great. I'd want to take a quick minute to just talk about the manager view as well as the admin view. Lattice has always been known for its intuitive and sleek design, and that doesn't stop with Lattice HRIS. Let me introduce you to Shelby. Shelby is a customer experience manager on our customer success team. When she logs into Lattice, she sees this great dashboard of how her team is doing. Things like updates, who's given feedback recently, how's the sentiment score across her team. But with Lattice HRIS, we're giving even deeper insights. I want to show you this time off tab. Within this time off tab, Shelby can see at a quick glance who is out of office on her entire team. Let's say, for instance, she wants to schedule a team meeting. She wants to make sure that everyone is available. Just by looking at this page, I can see easily that the 15th would be a great day for a team meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule that. I also see on this calendar view that there's a pending PTO request from Charlie on my team. So what I can do is just go ahead and click that request, and then I'm given all of the information that I might need in order to make an informed decision on whether or not Charlie can take that day off. No switching between tabs, it's all right here. Now before we move on, I want to show you my favorite feature with Lattice HRIS. Everyone's got, as a PM, you need one. It's this Teammates Out tab right here, or this Teammates Out avatar right here. With this, Shelby can see exactly who might be out during this time that Charlie is asking to take PTO. So again, I don't need to switch between a million tabs. I see it all right here. I can go ahead and approve that PTO because one person out, not a big deal, we'll be fine. Cool, so that's the manager point of view. I would be remiss if I did not show the HR admin point of view because I imagine that's maybe where you all might be spending a lot of your time. We extend that intuitive design to the manager point of view as well. But something else that I also really want to mention is it's highly configurable. We know that not every company builds things the same way, and we want to make sure that you all are given complete flexibility in both your permissions, how you configure your fields, and how you pull reports. So I'm going to talk about each one of those. Within an HRIS, you store a lot of sensitive data. You store things like names, addresses, social security numbers, compensation, and it's really important that that information stays within the people you want to make sure see that. And so Lattice gives you complete configurability here and complete flexibility. Let's say, for instance, that I want to change which fields my manager of managers see. All I have to do is go into permissions, click edit, and then I'm given a list of every single field that Lattice HRIS gives you. I can then, from this page, click whether that manager of managers views, edits, or has no access at all to that field. Every company, again, has unique data needs, and we support that with Lattice HRIS. Configurability doesn't just stop there, though. Fields. Lattice HRIS gives you about 100+ default fields once you purchase. Things like name, address, base pay, we all kind of collect the same information, right? But we also know that you might want to collect some unique information. You might call things a little bit differently than what we call it. And so we give you the ability to create custom fields. And we give you that ability to create custom fields in any format that you choose. Let's say, for instance, my company has a field that goes beyond department called division. And I want to create that field across all of the employee profiles. I can come in here, create a multiple choice field, give it a name, give it some options, and here I've created a field called division across all of my profiles. I can actually choose whether I add that to a subset of profiles or all of them. Let's go ahead and add that to all of them because this seems like a pretty important field for everyone. And then once I actually go and create that field can be used throughout the Lattice product. So let's say, for example, I want to filter my engagement surveys by this field. Easy, done. Let's say I want to run a review and send it only to my go-to-market team. Done. Let's say I want to see my head count across this field. Done. In fact, I'm going to show you that one. All right, so let me run into Explorer. Let's say I want to see my head count across division, but I actually want to see it like for 6 months ago because I'm running this audit and I need to see a singular point in time. All I have to do here is go into head count, choose what I'm comparing across, which is that new field that I just created, which is division. And then I can come up here and change the date to be whatever date I choose. That date can be both historical and in the future. Super powerful. It doesn't just stop there. I can actually go in here and add a new breakdown for gender identity because I want to see what my gender identity across this custom field of division was on June 3rd, 2023. We solve all of that with Lattice HRIS. Incredible. Sweet. Well, you guys, you stuck it out. We've walked through the entire employee lifecycle. I've showed you the manager view. I've showed you the admin view. I'm now going to hand it over to Ryan to wrap us up with a customer story.
Take down. Okay, that's a tough act to follow there, but I'm going to do my best. So we just saw Evergreen Technologies, our made-up company here. But I really want to share a success story of one of our earliest customers who's on the Lattice HRIS, Trust and Will. So Trust and Will is trying to modernize their tech stack, and prior to Lattice, they had a manual set of onboarding processes, tasks for floating around spreadsheets. They were able to come over onto the Lattice system, automate all of those pieces, and really deliver a better new hire and manager experience. Everything was living all inside that Lattice system. I needed to run a report all right there. We saw a bunch of these things get highlighted across the whole entire team and each one of the products as well. And so we talked about this as well in the keynote, but really when Lattice builds product, it's adding on top of each other. We started with a really strong talent suite. We've layered in AI, and now powering a lot of the fundamental pieces behind it is the HRIS. When we think about building product, and what I want you to take away here, it's really not 1 + 1 = 2, but it's 1 + 1 = 3. There are synergies, information is flowing across all these systems. It's making your life easier at the end of the day. Your employees have a single place to go. Your managers need less systems to learn about. And it's able to drive a highly engaging, really dynamic experience and overall extremely interconnected across the web. I think that is all we are at today. And again, the thing I'm going to highlight again, and I'm keep stressing because I'm really excited about the Lattice HRIS, take advantage of the 50% off. We're offering this through November. The team has done a fantastic job. If you have any questions, scan this, get a demo with the team. We're all here too, and it'll be at the demo booths. And so come on over, and we'd love to show you what we've built. That is it. Thank you all.